Hello everyone, this is Mike, and this video is something that I've been needing to do for a while, but it's because people still ask me every now and then, which console do you prefer, the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4? Which one should I get, the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4? It's a very complicated answer because there's so many factors that go into deciding which console to get. If you could only get one, I would recommend both if you can. But if you can only get one, well, that depends on your preferences and your situation regarding which one your friends play on or what exclusives you like, things like that. So I'm going to go through each point, and then you will have to decide based on what I say whether or not the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 is for you. If you're wondering which one I would get if I could only get one, well, I will save that towards the end of the video. Anyways, let's get started. One of the factors you need to think about is exclusives. Which exclusives do you prefer? Would you rather play Uncharted, or would you rather play Halo? Would you rather play Gears of War, or would you rather play Bloodborne? That's something you need to consider. What exclusives appeal to you more? And I can't tell you which ones do or don't, because I'm not you. So, and as far as what I think personally, would I rather play Halo or Uncharted? Well, honestly, I think it's difficult for me because they're apples and oranges. They're very different games, and I don't really have a preference towards either one, really. I like both a lot, and I love that I can play both. But, so I can't really say. This is why I can't really answer that question very well. But what you have to ask yourself is, if you can answer that, do you prefer Halo or Uncharted? Do you prefer Bloodborne or Gears of War? Well, that's something you need to consider when deciding which console to buy. Another factor is performance of the state of multiplats. It is common knowledge that the PlayStation 4 tends to get better multiplats. So if that's something that matters to you, the PlayStation 4 would be the way to go. With me, my television is only 720p, so resolution doesn't mean anything. I can't see the difference because I don't have a TV that outputs at 1080p. If I had a 1080p television, it might be a different story. But as it stands right now, with a 720p TV, resolution gate is irrelevant to me. So that would depend on what type of television you have, if resolution matters to you or not. Another factor is frame rate. Now here it's a little more interesting because some of the games have better frame rates on the PlayStation 4, while others have better frame rates on the Xbox One. This is according to Digital Foundry. For example, Alien Isolation, more stable frame rate on the PlayStation 4. Same thing with Battlefront, and I know this is not the best example, but Fallout 4, even though the frame rate is all over the place on both console versions. On the Xbox One, however, Dragon Age Inquisition and The Witcher have a better frame rate on the Xbox One over the PlayStation 4. So it depends on the game. So if frame rate is something that matters to you, you're gonna have to go to Digital Foundry and sites like that. But it varies depending on the game. Now, the reason for that is sometimes when a game has lower resolution, the frame rate tends to be more stable because it's not as demanding. Another example for a game that has better frame rate on the Xbox One, although this is minor, is Shadow of Mordor. Now I will say this: when the Xbox One's frame rate is better, the difference isn't as drastic as it is when the PlayStation version of a game has a better frame rate. So that's something to think about also. Another factor to think about, depending on what console you want to get, another factor you need to consider is which system do your friends play on. If they play on both, and you can't get both, well, it depends on which friends you would rather play with. In the case of myself, I did have an Xbox One friend, but he doesn't have an Xbox One anymore, so that is no longer relevant to me at the moment, but it might be in the future. We'll see what happens with him, but that is something that you need to ask yourself: which console do my friends play on? If you like multiplayer games, if you have more friends on the PlayStation, get the PlayStation 4. If you have more friends on Xbox, get an Xbox One. Okay, another thing I'm going to talk about is something that doesn't get mentioned very much, because it's not really new news. When you get a disc, when you buy a disc-based game, you have to wait on both systems before you can play it. But the waiting time on the PlayStation 4 for a disc is much less. So much so that on the PlayStation 4, you can play a game a minute after it preloads. Like a minute. It takes about a minute or so for the game to be ready to play when you get a disc-based game on PS4. Then the game, what happens is the game loads in the background, and then it updates at the same time. So you can play a game before the update is installed on a PS4 game if you put in a disc. On Xbox One, some games allow you to play them at a certain point, but it's a much longer wait. And many games, even when they say they're ready to play, they're not. So the waiting time for the Xbox One is much, much longer for disc-based games than the PlayStation 4 when it comes to installation time. So when you first put in a disc, you're going to have a much faster waiting time on the PlayStation 4 than you will on the Xbox One. Now let's talk about their own features. The PlayStation 4's unique feature to me is SharePlay. If your friends have a PlayStation 4 and you have a good enough internet connection and they have a good enough internet connection, and you want to play a game that they have, or they want to play a game that you have, it's possible to SharePlay, which basically allows you to share your games online, and if that allows you or them to play a game that they don't own. So, let's say let's say my friend has a particular game that I don't have. Well, if they allow it, they can let me play that game for about an hour, and if the hour runs out, they can renew it as much as they want for me if they want to be nice to me that way. I can play my friend's game without owning it. That is an amazing feature. It's demanding as far as internet connection, but it is an amazing feature that can entice a lot of people to get a PS4. Now, so that's a feature that the Xbox One does not have that only PlayStation has. Now, on the Xbox One side, what does the Xbox One have that PlayStation does not have? Backwards compatibility. Something that, and this is a really unique thing. This is the Xbox One is the first console that I can think of that added backwards compatibility post-launch on the same box. Not a different model, the same box. It's only 100 games right now, and you do have to wait for it to install to download to your console. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it if you still have your 360, but it's a very enticing offer if you still have your games and you don't have your 360. Of course, why would you still have your 360 games if you don't have a 360? Just saying. But that is an amazing achievement that Microsoft has done. So, let's see, what else? Other things I need to talk about. There are other things I know I have to talk about that I can't think of right now. But that's a feature you need to look into, is backwards compatibility. It's only 100 games right now, but they are going to be adding more over the next year. PlayStation has said they're not going to do that. Their answer to it is PlayStation Now, which is basically Netflix of video games. They're also going to add emulation for PS2, which if the demos of it from Digital Foundry are anything to go by, the frame rate for PS2 games will be better on the PS4. But, so yeah, those are just a couple of the features to look into. Can't think of anything else really. I guess you can talk. I could talk about the Elite controller, but I never played it, so I'm not going to. Exit them. Oh, hard drive exchanges. That's something I want to talk about real quick. Do you prefer to have your hard drive to be installed internally or externally? I prefer externally. It's just easier for me. Because internally is kind of a hassle because you have to do a lot of complicated things, and you have to get something from a website which didn't really work for me. So it's a bit of a hassle to do things internally than it is externally. But it is more attractive visually. You know, you don't have anything sticking out or anything else to plug in. So yeah, external versus internal support is a factor. So that's something to consider. That is something to consider when purchasing a console. Well, I guess that's all the features I can think of. So, and something else I want to talk about too. Another feature is musical background. Being able to listen to your music in the background. Now, as it stands right now, you can listen to PlayStation. You can listen to video. You can listen to music in the background on PlayStation 4. However, my experience with it was not all of my songs showed up. Not all of my songs showed up when I listened to music on the PlayStation 4. However, you are able to do it full screen. On the Xbox One, however, all my songs were there, and I could listen to them all, but I had to be in snap mode. So the screen didn't cover the whole thing. Now, if this is something that Xbox fans want to change, they just need to let Microsoft know, and Microsoft will implement an update in the future that will allow that, but that's only if people ask for it. So I'm hoping that you Xbox One fans out there will ask for for being able to listen to music playing during gameplay and being able to have it full screen. If they could do that, that would be awesome. And also, PlayStation, fix it to where I can listen to all my music in the background, not just some tracks. Just saying. Anyways, so that's something that's important to me, and it's something that both consoles haven't lived up to compared to the 360. Price is pretty much they're on par now. So yeah, I think those are the features you gotta look at. You gotta look at multi-plat quality. You gotta look at exclusives. You gotta look at what your friends are playing. You gotta look at the individual the exclusive features that each console has. Do I think one's better than the other? Not really. Mainly because their libraries are so similar that it's more of a go-to console depending on which one you prefer. Your preferred console is going to be your go-to console for everything. And your other console, if you can get both, it's going to be for your exclusives. As for me, what I do is I primarily have single-player games on PlayStation 4 and multiplayer games on Xbox One because I had one friend that gamed with me and he had an Xbox One. Although that's no longer the case, so now that's not even going to be a thing anymore, unless he gets another console. Alright, so I'm going to tell you my preference, what I would do if I could only get one. Before, it would have been Xbox One because of my friend. But now that he doesn't have a console, it would be the PlayStation 4 because it has more exclusive horror games than the Xbox One. Among the Sleep is coming off PS4 in December. Until Dawn is exclusive to the PlayStation 4. BT, when it was available, was only on PS4, and that alone would tilt for me towards PlayStation 4. Another factor I think for me would have been the frame rate on some of the multiplats, but resolution doesn't matter to me because of my television. It's only 720p. So I would say with my friend Xbox One, without my friend PlayStation 4. Now, what am I going to tell you at the end of the day? And this is the point of the video, and this is what you really need to listen to. Look at the factors I talked about and make your decision yourself. I can't tell you which one to get. I'm sorry, people keep asking me, which one should I get? Well, that depends on a lot of factors, and I went over them in this video. So, depending on what your preferences are, based on what I've told you, that's the console to get. If it's based on your preferences, based on the facts I laid out. Base your decision on that. What exclusives do you like? Where do your friends play? What features are more attractive to you? I will say this, you cannot go wrong with either. If you get a PlayStation 4, you've made a great purchase. If you get an Xbox One, you've made a great purchase. Now, I'm not trying to give false parity and say that they are both equal in terms of parity. They're not. They're different machines. But you're going to get a great quality out of both of them. So it really depends on your preference. And that's the point of this video. Based on the features I've laid out, what are your preferences from there? You ask yourself that, and then you will know which console to get. Hope this helps you out. Have a great Black Friday. The consoles are... I saw a commercial for PlayStation 4 being $299 somewhere. I haven't seen anything for Xbox One, but I'm sure Microsoft has a price drop for Black Friday. So take this opportunity now. Get a console on the cheap if you can, and get some games and everything. Also, there is one more thing I need to talk about. PlayStation Plus, which is required for multiplayer on PS4, but not PS3, is $10 cheaper than on the Xbox One. So I throw that out there. I forgot about that. I should have mentioned that earlier, but that's something to consider as well. That's all I got for you, so thank you for watching, and I will see you in a future video. Bye.